Welcome back, people, to another Let's Play in history, and we're going to talk about the election of 1840 and continue on with this heist. Sly, Bentley, a lot of Sly. Okay, let's get all the Sly stuff done real quick. Oh. Oh, you got... Not a great start. Give me more. I'll gladly take that. The election of 1840 is basically, in a lot of ways, just a rematch of the election of 1836 between the two primary vote getters in Martin Van Buren and William Henry Harrison.
We meet again.
Constable Mila, thanks for not ratting me out after the ball.
I should be thanking you. The look on Carmelita's face was priceless.
She took it hard, huh?
No one likes to have their affection.
I think this is the level where we get betrayed by her. Spoiler alert. Even though the game's, well over 20 years old now. Or about 20 years old.
All night long.
I'll keep it in mind. But first, the task at hand. I've learned of a secret entrance leading to half of the Clockwork Heart. Legally, I can't enter the premises without a warrant. But now a thief like you...
A thief like me can go wherever he pleases. I read you.
Don't fall behind while I lead you to the entrance. This place is thick with guards, and standing still can be lethal.
I hear that, sister.
Yes, it can. Now, numerous things happened. Some background information. I should point out first and foremost that the economy is not doing too good. A small recession, depression is happening around this time. A lot of people blame it on whatchamacallit. I can't think right now. But the specific term is basically over investing in land that people are going to buy, effectively. Prospecting, I guess. Land prospecting, I guess, would be the closest apt term for it. Oh, come on. Speculating, it's one of these terms. I think it's a lot of things. I think it's just the fact that the country has to figure out how to run financially without a national bank. And I think the lack of positive industrial influence and progression, I think, does not help with that as well. And especially this is the beginnings of, in some ways, the Industrial Revolution, as Europe is really progressing in that fashion, in that particular way. The Northeast isn't very happy with how the country's going as a result of that. Martin Van Buren also just doesn't have the political favorability as Andrew Jackson does, as he's to blame for a lot of it.
There it is. Just like Mila said.
his favorite. I mean, his favorability is probably closer to like 35, 36%. It is very low at this point. He still has the support of the Democratic base, but it's also difficult now that the Whigs are largely aligned behind at least one singular candidate that they believe is going to be the guy who's going to get them there, in Mr. William Henry Harrison. Oh God. Just kill me. Just kill me. Really? Just kill me. Love of God, game. I'm a foot away from that spire, and it's just gonna straight up take me to... Okay. Let's see if I have enough. Nope. I don't have enough. Am I gonna get found? Ugh. But the Whigs had finally consolidated their support behind a single candidate, much to the chagrin of someone like Henry Clay, who is effectively the de facto leader of the Whigs. Really? Come on. Come on. Come on. There we go. Why was this so hard? But those are pretty much just the basic fundamentals that you do need to understand. Favorability, William Henry Harrison and John Tyler as the ticket. It would be pretty much a damn near exact rematch. Martin Van Buren versus with. Actually, I take that back. I don't think he had a. Hang on, let me look it up real quick. No, he did not have a vice presidential candidate. He ran with no running mate. But this was also the first time campaigning and electioneering really became a big thing. Because this is the first time that, I mean, John Tyler was going around being like, Tippecanoe and Tyler too, you know, the whole famous phrase, which he got the nickname from his famous battle against the Indian leader. I can't remember his name, my God. Might have actually been Tippecanoe, or the Battle of Tippecanoe, and John Tyler was his running mate, who is a staunch conservative Whig who was a former Democrat who broke from the party. And understand, I would say back then, vice presidential candidates to a certain degree helped. Today, vice presidential candidates don't really help in terms of electioning, to be honest. I think we can prove it for the most part, but it's also just my own personal view. Be very, very careful.
I'm within visual range of the spice room. What's next?
So the Whigs were actually trying to get themselves elected. They traveled all across the country, mainly John Tyler, but
We do the world a favor and John's
and in particular, since they felt like they had a strong base in the north, that would at least give them... It was 50-50 from the get-go without campaigning, but once the campaigning started, showing the faults of the Democratic Party and specifically Warren Van Buren, they ultimately ended up gaining a lot of support in the South. And by the end, the election happens. William Henry Harrison wins 234 electoral votes versus Martin Van Buren's 60. And this is in part, primarily, and specifically due to... What am I doing?
Make sure to get the TNT barrel into that basin filled with spice dust.
Oh. Okay, that worked. And my dogs are awake. I'm supposed to use this for something. Why is there... Ah. I'm on my tippy toes. That would have ended very badly. William Henry Harrison wins about 1.2 million votes versus Martin Van Buren's 1.1. This really was about election and voter turnout, I would say. So unfortunately for Martin Van Buren, the opposite thing would happen. In which case, if more people turned out, then he probably wins a re-election, contested, but wins the re-election. But enough people turned out in the South that it actually shifted the electoral vote within the South by at least. It certainly shifted at least 4 to 5 states. That's just the unfortunate truth for Martin Van Buren. Polls probably had it pretty dead even initially until the electioneering and campaigning ultimately ended up starting. Because in particular, he ends up losing a lot of states in the South. Georgia being one of them, a big one. Carolina, Tennessee, another big one. Is there one more? Oh, crap. Ugh. I'm sorry, people. I am terrible at this game. In fairness, it's probably been at least 7 years or so since I've last played this game. I want this ring. Oop. Running. Ah. And I'm dead. That's okay. I deserve that one. Is that the only way up there? Up there. God, this is just a freaking chaotic maze. Ugh. Just to get to a mission starting point, too. And keep in mind, most of these states are actually relatively close together. The states that I just named, Georgia, went to the wrong one. North Carolina, Tennessee. Not like, oh my god, close, but if campaigning wasn't as prominent as it was, then Martin Van Buren at least has a somewhat of a fighting chance to actually win this potentially contested election. But it ends up just being a pretty clean sweep, as William Henry Harrison ends up winning about 52% of the popular vote. Van Buren ends up winning about probably about 47%, give or take. Let's just round up, say 47%. Right, the bang it.
Cherry bomb 500. That's a lot of kick.
Trust me, we'll need it. To get that ruby free from its moorings, you might have to whack it a few times with your cane.
I'm on it.
Murray, you're on. Sly's knocked the ruby loose, and now we need your muscle to get it in the fire. Muscle on the way.
Boom. Look at this big guy go. Now the interesting election is actually the one after it, the election of 1844. And you know what? I'm starting to do. It's probably gonna be American history, but little history shorts that are like little 5-10 minute long videos that'll just give the basic fundamental information about.
Murray, you can pick up a ruby with your stomp move. Despite its size, that rock is really fragile. Bentley will run ahead and inflate cushions that are safe to throw the ruby onto. Use them, but this operation's a bust. Now, head out to our rendezvous.
But I'll probably do little history videos on each of these elections, and I'll probably cause I'm starting to do these quick little history videos on the political parties first, and then some great American conflicts. The one that's probably going to take a while is like the Civil War, and then because I want these videos to be like maybe like 4 or 5 minute long little things, nothing too crazy, but I do want to try and be comprehensive and fair to all sides, because everything is, it's a lot more complicated the more you look at things with a fine tooth, fine brush. The more you look at it, the more it just gets complicated. Civil War in particular is a very complicated one, and also, let's be honest, certain racial stuff and tensions and things that kind of go along with it. Because on one hand, I'm a northerner, or I would identify with the North and the northern attitudes and whatnot, but and I do believe that the institution of slavery was one of the big factors and reasons, but it's a little more complicated than that too, because a lot of these people in the South foundationally and fundamentally did not want their way of life to change, and enjoyed their way of life and enjoyed their freedom, and also enjoyed having their livelihoods not messed with. Because I think it was specifically the Mississippi articles of secession, basically detailing, which people always point out. The first line is, our beef is with the whole reason why we are doing this is because of the institution of slavery. And the truth is, it's actually a little more complicated than that, because if you read the whole thing, because that's just the first line in like 2 or 3 paragraphs that they explain, that to us, it isn't necessarily about the actual institution of slavery, but it is the cheap labor that we get that allows us to specifically thrive in our agrarian society, that without it, our way of life and the things we hold near and dear to our hearts, our freedoms and our principles, yada yada, ultimately will forever change. And that is something we do not and will not lose, and we will fight tooth and nail to protect that. And then there's also the contentious issue of, like, a lot of people always point out that it's like the 1% of people in the South own slaves. That's technically true and not true, because they do take into account, I think, a lot of the entire population of the United States. And on top of that, because that number actually is probably closer to like 3%. And then, let's be honest, women didn't own slaves. There's always the men. And if you just take into account families and households and that had owned slaves, at least 20% of the population in the South had at least one slave. Although it is 100% true that the overwhelming majority of the rich, plantation owners, the ones who get looked at negatively and should be looked at negatively, are the ones who owned hundreds of slaves. Black slaves and white slaves. Obviously, primarily black, like 98% black, and then 2% white. And most of them were usually because of indentured servitude, and were treated really badly. If you look at some of the stories, like really badly, like wow, just as badly as African slaves too. And like that is an entire thing that I don't even want to get into. Probably should, but I'd rather not. What am I doing? Okay, so I am just destroying this. Am I actually getting hit? God, these guys kind of suck at shooting. Oh, those are the ones I gotta watch out for. And that. Holy hell. What the heck? What just happened? Okay, focus, 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 focus. I mean, seriously, do I have to just shoot them down? What is this? Come on, just stay Stay strong. Stay alive. There we go.
Nice shooting, Bentley. Jean knows how to swim.
A piece of the dam struck the chopper. It's going down.
Uh-oh. Not Bentley.
Ooh, ow. Ah. Ooh. Oh. Partial flooding
What tiger?
report, so it's time to go the distance. Blowing up the temple's elephant mouth should turn this grotto into a swimming pool. I'll cover Murray.
Let's talk about it. The election of 1844.
Rise the mouth open. What's that?
For the first time, it's going to be two new candidates. James K. Polk with the Democratic Party, with George Dallas as his running mate, and Henry Clay with Theodore Friggler. I can't pronounce his last name. Now I'm not even going to try. As his vice presidential running mate. Now, background for this election: William Henry Harrison dies in office. John Tyler takes over, becomes relatively unpopular for numerous different reasons. A lot of people do support him specifically. But he is certainly a very interesting president. A lot of things are changing within the country. More states are being admitted. The issues of slavery are really becoming a problem and prevalent within the country. And sides are being drawn between North and South. And despite the issues, there are, at the very least, broad support in the North for some Whigs, although I think that's false support. I will say that, because John Tyler was a Whig, and he did make things a little contested within Congress and the federal government. And long story short, Democrats are running Mr. James K. Polk, who is an unknown, relatively speaking. Oh. Sorry, buddy. Is it this elephant? Get married to the lever. That elephant. That makes a little more sense. Oops, don't do that. But basically, the idea was a relative unknown versus Henry Clay, who is at least known, has a long history. Not a very popular history, if I'm going to be honest, but it's literally like Hillary Clinton versus a random nobody to a certain degree. Although I think Polk was the Speaker of the House at one point. And these two in particular, I think, were unique ideological adversaries. Where the bomb's at? Oh.
You'll never be able to get that mouth open unless I destroy all of them.
just like Halo. Bad joke. But these two were going at it at this point. Poll-wise, a lot of people are like, you know, oh, come on. You didn't even give me a chance to push the buttons, damn it. But anyways, Henry Clay's probably at least 5-6 points up in the poll. Like it's pretty. It's gotta be a shorter way, so I'm gonna go this way first. You know, he's at least 5-6 points up in the polls. Democrats are struggling in the South. Wink, wink. They're not really. And this is where the issues of people want some level of effective government, less taxes, etc., etc., and come on, boy. Why is the truck all the way over there? What am I saying? This is video game logic. Run! I had him up 5-6 points in the polls. This would be a very, very closely contested election. Because Henry Clay did have some support in the Midwest, in particular. And at the very least, there was thought that the Whigs had enough support in the North that it wasn't going to be much of a challenge. That was the big reason why the polls were up. Big problem is that people were dissatisfied with the Whigs. And by the time the election does come around, things get a little bit interesting. Votes start coming in, and James K. Polk wins the election. 170 electoral votes versus 105. He wins the majority of the popular vote, about 49.5%, and Henry Clay gets about, rounding around, it's about 48% or so.
When we try to tick someone off, we really do the job.
Yes, you do seem to have quite a talent for it.
Constable Mila, slumming it with the thieves again?
That man is an illegal spice trader. He should be brought to justice.
All I'm after is the clockwork part. You help me take him down, and the bust is all yours.
Just try to keep up.
Oh, crap.
Mila, now!
Sorry.
What are you doing?
Betrayed. Betrayal.
I'm coming, buddy! This is it. This is the Cooper gang I've heard so much about and feared these long hours. The Murray will renew.
The Murray, bro.
Who's the Murray? All I see is a fat, pathetic weakling. I might be big, not as smart as the other guys, but one thing I'm not is weak.
Hell yeah, bro. Get it. Oh, crap. some health, bros. Oh, pff. I would gladly take this health. I think I got his routine down. Oh, said that way too quickly. Crap. Come on, buddy. Come on, buddy. Come on, buddy. Crap. Son of...
Pathetic, weakling. Defend your lord.
Come on. Don't you dare disparage the Murray. Ah, dang it. I start paying attention a little bit better. Jumping way too early now. Jumping still way too early. Dang it! Man, I'm sucking today.
Dispatch this fool.
Oh, come on, monkey. Okay, I ran into that one. Ran into that one. Okay, I just didn't dodge on that one very well. This is a very simple and easy boss fight, and I cannot beat this guy. Holy crap. I mean, the truth is exit polls probably would say that many people in the North, in particular, were very dissatisfied with the Whigs in particular. So this is more of a party thing, I think, than actual candidacy, surprisingly, despite the unpopularity of Henry Clay. Some people, I would even argue, might say that a lot of this did have to do with Henry Clay, and they just didn't want him to be the guy, and thought he was an ineffective party leader in particular. Oh, thank God. Come on. Going right into that one. Just murder your own guy, bro. Is he dead? Done? Done.
Victory belongs to the Murray. Sly's gonna want this half of the clockwork heart.
In particular, he would actually lose quite a few northern states. Rhode Island, Vermont, Massachusetts, New Jersey, like a lot of states. He would have retained a couple of states in the Midwest that actually did help solidify him. No, sorry, he won those states. He would lose New York and Pennsylvania in particular, which is really bad for him, but he actually lost a lot of support in certain Midwest states, in particular Virginia. That would go Democrat. And, yeah, that's basically the specific reason why. Maine was a big one that they ended up losing. New Hampshire was a big one that they Clay ends up losing. And not to mention, too, this was an exceptionally high turnout vote as well, which at this point really only benefited only benefited James K. Polk. If there wasn't a high turnout, then things might be a little bit different. One could also say political, vote stuff, rigging certain states to have a particular person win it, things like that.
I'll get you, Neela. Don't think I won't.
Such a pity when an officer falls from the line.
Yes, indeed.
It's just Bentley.
Double-crossing, cockney, liar!
Never trust a Brit.
Though statistically improbable, I had to face the facts. Neela had betrayed us. My teammates were captured.
And
I was
Carmelita.
all alone. While intellectually inferior, Sly and Murray had always been a rich source of sociological interest. The long walk out of the jungle gave me time to reflect. And with each passing step, my sense of isolation grew.
Oh, Bentley.
Shockingly, my comrades
Damn, that's a big blade. Holy crap. Don't you have bombs?
This was the true test of friendship. Upon reaching
Bentley to the
land,
rescue.
My resolve was hardened. I had to save my friends. But first things first.
Yeah, I'll admit driving stick is not my forte, personally. Oh, this game's silly. But it's a great plot, by the way. Well, look, guys, like and subscribe. This will be the end of this part. God bless. We'll continue on soon, I promise. Later, y'all. Y'all rock.